So we're going to close out today's plenary to really do a quick dive into design. And with me today are Ellis, who is a Senior Program Officer at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Sandy Speicher, who is the CEO of IDEO. And thank you both for being here. The Gates Foundation has been a great partner to JFF for many years, probably 15 years or more. IDEO is a new partner to us. We engaged Sandy's team when we were really looking to revamp horizons and really try to make this engaging virtual experience. And so that's really been a terrific experience for all of us. So, I think designing a conference is one thing and certainly important, but the notion of design, also takes on a much deeper meaning, particularly when we're looking at, how do we redesign systems and how do we, tackle some of these long-standing issues like systemic racism. So Sandy, maybe you could start us off and really just, telling us a bit about how do you think about design, and particularly when we are thinking about these huge, long-standing historic issues and systems.
Sure. Thanks, Maria, and thanks so much for bringing me into this conversation today. Hello, everyone out there. I guess the way I see it is a simple story of design is that it's the way we shape the world around us. When we design in a human-centered way, we start by understanding who we're designing for and with. 50 years ago, that was actually a major leap. Before then, we were designing things without really thinking about how people experience them. Design happened like from a distance, and we ended up designing things that force people to adapt to them. I'm sure many of you have had that experience where you feel that you're not being met by the thing, the experience, the system around you. So human-centered design is really about putting people at the center of the process so that we design experiences that adapt to people's needs, not the other way around. Design asks us to listen and learn about people's needs and aspirations and use that as the basis of our imagination. And ideally keep trying things out with people, getting feedback on it, and kind of continuously learning so that we're really not resting on our assumptions. And you ask a really important question about in this moment. What does it mean in this moment? To be honest, it really feels like what we need is another leap in the way that we think about design, especially when we're designing in the social sphere. Empathy isn't really enough. It actually can still be a distancing disposition. It's better than nothing, but it's not really the closeness that we need in order to be really designing for people. So, when we design products where people have a choice as to whether they buy it, that's one thing. But when we're designing systems where people don't have choice, we have to be deeply thoughtful. So given that, it feels incumbent on all of us to really learn how to listen and listen really deeply, to design in ways that include people and keep multiple perspectives alive in that process. And maybe also to realize that design is never finished. It's a process of continuous learning. But I have one more thing that I wanted to draw attention to, because the work of design isn't just listening, it's actually finding the leap. We listen in order to imagine how to do things differently in a way that takes even better care of people. And Jim Shelton mentioned this earlier, the need to think differently about the solutions that we have so that we get to the changes that we seek. And that requires listening and learning for sure, but also a kind of courageous, deeply considered creativity.
Great. Thank you so much. And I like the point around, when people don't have a choice, right, about the systems that they're engaging with. I think that's it's an interesting way to think about it, and something really critical to keep in mind for sure. And Isa, I really appreciate your support and the support of the Gates Foundation in the Impact Design Challenge that we're launching today. Just so folks know, if you're interested in joining the challenge on Tuesday or Wednesday, you still have time to RSVP, and I hope that you will. It's being held from 3 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So a little plug for that. But Isa, a question for you, why is, kind of this issue of design important to you and your colleagues and your work in the foundation, and how do you think about that?
Yeah. So thank you for having me, Maria. So just to take a step back, like the goal of our Pathways work at the foundation is to help create more accessible and equitable paths that help young people of color and those experiencing poverty launch careers to lead to economic opportunity and upward mobility. So in order for us as a foundation to not only show up as a good partner in this, but also to truly understand the problem, the need, the potential opportunities, like we first had to anchor our work around listening, what Sandy said, right? And so in doing that, we decided to hear from young people, and we wanted to hear directly from young people, as well as hearing from the field, like those who are most proximate and those who are most impacted by the persistent inequities and challenges, right? So over the last 2 years, we engaged with these young people to occupational identity, how it's developed, and how career goals and aspirations. At the same time, learning to feel how institutional and structural barriers contribute to and uphold these inequities, right? And so for us, like we've done a lot of investigative work to understand the problem, and now we seek more solutions. In seeking solutions, we realize, oh, yes, a group of us can get together with solutions, but that's not the way you do this work at all, right? You need to build with the field and so when we think about we've engaged young people, we've listened to the field, now we want to hear, like, what do you think, right? What should happen? What have you been doing, to be quite honest, right? So a lot of these shifts have been native for a lot of people, but you've been living this, right? Maybe even your entire life. You've been doing this work your entire career. And so as we think like design, we have one is listening, and two is being inclusive process of who's part of that design, but that doesn't always happen, right? So sometimes we take all this time, we listen to folks, and then we just go off, and then all of a sudden expect them to receive whatever we bless them, right?
Right.
And that's not the work that we're looking here at all. We truly are looking to show up for philanthropy, to show up different, Gates Foundation to show up different, to show up partner in the work. And so when you and your team propose this idea of post-design challenge at the beginning, I thought, like, what a great opportunity to have a space where thinkers, practitioners, policy employers, researchers, everyone are like already coming together. So how does opportunity not only what steps they're already taking, but generate new ideas. And this is a time when people are more than ever willing to be so just how we can.
Maria, I wonder if it would be okay if I could ask you a question.
Sure.
You know, you're working at the intersection of policy and practice, and I think that parable that Jim shared earlier about the two men coming to the river really felt deeply profound in terms of the work that we're all doing. I wonder if you could maybe just share with us how do you keep this kind of the long-term design needs in mind while you deal with all the pressing short-term needs?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's one that I feel that we need to get an awful lot better at as a field, right? And so I think it's just to maybe take the unemployment insurance system like for a moment, right? I feel we are, states have been really like up against the wall trying to meet the demands for all of these, unprecedented levels of UI claimants. And I think folks have probably seen the stories around some states are using systems that were designed, back in the 80s, right? So you're running a program that was largely designed back in the time of the New Deal, right, with technology that was built in the 80s, trying to keep up with, a pandemic and social unrest of, the year 2020, right? And this just doesn't work. And I think while, we're kind of making do the best we can, I worry that we don't always make the space kind of within the policy discussions to truly step back and say, what would happen if we built an unemployment insurance system from scratch today? I doubt it would look or feel like, what we currently have. And so I think, my short answer to your question is we need to do a better job of running some of these conversations and design ideas in parallel, the short and the long.
That's great. Thank you.
Great. Awesome. And then I think just, one last question for Sandy. I've heard some great things about what IDEO is doing around lifelong learning, particularly in South Bend. And so maybe like as we close out, just give us a little bit of a sense of what that work entails.
Sure, I'm happy to. It's a collaboration that we've been so grateful to be a part of with the Drucker Institute and with the city of South Bend, Indiana, along with many, many others. And that work really recognizes that the nature of work is ever changing, but the need to get new skills and knowledge is a constant. And so Drucker Institute asked the question of, what if we could build a culture of lifelong learning in our communities? And Maria, I think this, is like the question you're asking, like, what if we could think from scratch a little bit around the way our community operates and connects? And we had teams that spent months then in South Bend. We hired people in the community to be part of our design team. And we really learned about the foundation that we could build from in terms of people's aspirations, but also the systems that they trust. And one of the things that we learned was that it's not enough to collect expert resources and give them freely and openly to people. Most people don't know why or how they're valuable or how to navigate them. And it's really far from their direct experience. Not to mention, there's not a lot of trust for systems that are far away.
Right.
So what the team designed was it's a system called Bendable. It's in beta right now, so early in terms of our learning. But what excites me most about it is that it kind of combines both digital and place-based. It combines expertise, but also expertise of residents. So we have residents that are curating playlists around learning topics, and they're curating content that is available, from local institutions, from national institutions, but most importantly, it's filtered around why it matters to you. So you could then learn about building a small business from like the owner of your favorite restaurant. That's a really different approach to thinking about learning, especially from within the community. So we're excited to see how that work develops and learn from that.
It's great. I look forward to hearing more about that for sure. Awesome. So I think we are going to hand this back to David in just one moment, but I just want to thank you again, both of you, for your partnership, for Isa, for your support and your engagement through the design challenge, and Sandy, to you and your whole team for helping us over the past several weeks. It's been a lot of fun. So I look forward to what's ahead.